I was just thinking back to that moment, Will. My first day kind of shocked me into the environment, and I remember you looking at me. You were like, "How's your first day?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was a tough one." You're like, "I know just the thing."
I read the screenplay, and it came normal channels. It was sent in, and 98% of what was in that screenplay on the first read is what ended up on camera. It was spectacular, one of the greatest reads I've ever had as an actor. And I knew I wanted to make it by the time I was on page 20. I had seen the image of whipped Peter as a child, but as his story started to come into focus, I was moved in all of the most beautiful ways. When you look at the brutality that he suffered, and then through the research, realizing that even with that, he was able to sustain faith, gratitude, and love in the face of those kinds of atrocities, I knew that I wanted to learn from Peter.
It came through the usual channels for me as well, but I expressed the same magnetism to the script that Will's speaking of. I read it, I couldn't stop reading it. I was on the edge of my seat as I read it. I put it down and immediately read it twice because I was just like, this is thrilling, so engaging, and just an immense tale of triumph. And I obviously really fell in love with it, but so I made sure I put extra effort into that audition because and there was something immediately that I felt that I knew her in a way. She sat somewhere within me, so I was very hopeful and glad it all worked out.
I read the script and I got on the phone with Antoine. I was like, why me? And I'm like, really? Now we're gonna make this movie now? I was raised well. Like, my grandparents, my father, my grandmother marched with Martin Luther King a month after Selma.
The Lord is with us. What can a mere man do to me?
I will come back to you!
You walk the earth because I let you. I'm your God now.
For me, at least, it's not always, oh, I know this guy. It's, you got to ask questions. And we began discussing, where does violence come from, racial violence? And then we got down to that nervy subject called white fear. So we started sharing articles and from James Baldwin and Frederick Douglass, and we started looking at the trauma that a baby who we assume is not born racist, they learn hate generationally. How do we get into that? How do we get into that fear that is the result or results in impossible violence? And we see in the newsfeed today.
So, there's 300 extras on set, and I'm holding court, and I'm out there. I feel like I'm a producer, and I gotta keep it down. So I'm talking out there. Ben walks on set and walks right past me and doesn't speak. And I'm looking, I was like, oh, he must not have recognized me in my wardrobe. And Ben didn't speak to me or acknowledge me on set for the entire 5 months of shooting. And I remember looking at him like, oh, that's right. We're not playing. Like, this is serious, important material. And he snapped me to attention. And I really credit the seriousness and the care and concern that Ben took in playing this character with elevating my performance in the process.
Thank you, Will. It's funny because we haven't spoken about it. I had the other view, which is I don't see Will Smith I come up on set first day and I see a man who's going deep in, and we didn't need to speak. So for whatever it's worth, I thank you for snapping me in too.
Oh, love that.
I was just thinking back to that moment, Will. You know, my first day kind of shocked me into the environment, and I remember you looking at me. You were like, "How's your first day?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was a tough one." You're like, "I know, just the thing." You know, I've grown up watching Will, and he's a hero to me and many of my family and friends. And you know, I remember the focus you guys were talking about as well. Like, I had to take my seat and like move away and sit in a cabin because I just wanted to live in that state, because the places she has to go, the things she has to experience, all of us, what we have to experience, it needs that level of depth. My team knew the intensity of the shoot, and they sent me a voucher to go and get a massage. And I sobbed the entire 90 minutes through that massage.
Wow.
And it made me realize that, and grateful, because I had somewhere to take my stuff, but these people had nowhere to take their stuff. Dodie Yen, especially when Peter's gone, has no one that she can relate to. And it's just, it made me just really appreciate her character so much more, because that strength of will, to have nowhere to take it to have no shoulder to cry on, but to keep believing that her husband was coming back, like it made me admire her as a character.
Slaves are free. We must get to Baton Rouge, through this swamp. Lincoln's army is dead. There are many ways to die in a swamp.
I took the film in my hometown, so I had my hometown crowd, and there's a moment in the film where we're separated, and my character is going through, you know, a difficult time, and Charmaine's character Dodie Yen is dreaming, and she wakes up from the depth of connection that Dodie Yen and Peter have. And literally a woman screams out in the audience, "Oh Lord, she can feel him. She can feel him." You know, and they're like what we were trying to capture. And if the Philadelphia audience is any signal, we captured it, is that there's something beyond the physical proximity in their love. Their love transcends this brutality. Their love stays strong enough to bring them back together as a family. And I just love watching Charmaine.
Oh, and likewise, there's so much life in your eyes and in your spirit, and it's beautiful the way you just put that into Peter. And it was so important that it lived across space and time. And, you know, thinking of our ancestors, I feel like had they not made their way back to each other, they would have found each other in another life. It had to be that profound level of love.
The thing that was sort of the North Star for all of us really was the picture of whipped Peter. So we knew that was the tone, texture, feeling, you know, there's brutality, but even in the posture of his body, there's dignity and power. What that image did in the global hearts and minds of the time is what we were trying and are trying to do with the film.
The great Bob Richardson shot this film, and the way he approached the visual language, he felt as much of our ensemble as anybody spiritually. He, the way he addresses the light, it's not a ghost story, but it is about transcending time, be it love to what Will and Charmaine are talking about, sensing each other out of space, but also in period of time. Bob shot this film as devoted as anyone possibly could, and it's stunning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To speak to Antoine Fuqua, our incredible director, the weight that he carried, and he felt it every day. It's like watching a prize fighter come to work, fighting with love. And the way that he expressed his understanding of past and the importance of what's happening today being able to weave those elements so seamlessly with so much heart. Can't imagine the tremendous artistic weight, but what he's accomplished with this film is it's astounding.
I must get to my family.
What if he don't come back?
Your papa is going to be back. Do not ever stop believing that.
She's persistent. Running, hiding, surviving.
So many people have done spectacular work on this film. My hope is that my team isn't penalized at all for my actions, you know. So as I'm out and, you know, moving into the world, I would say that's the first and foremost concern for me. I think, you know, Antoine and Bob and Ben and Charmaine, like everyone has done such spectacular work, and you know, I definitely lose a couple winks of sleep every night thinking that I could have potentially penalized my team, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that everyone gets seen in the light that they deserve.
I fight them. They beat me. They whip me. They break the bones in my body more times than I can count.
I don't know about you two, but this was without question the hardest film I've ever shot in my entire career. The swamp, the gators and snakes and spiders and then COVID. We had a COVID shutdown. We had a hurricane. Yeah, you know, we had the heat index. We were clipping up at 110, 115 degrees. We're having to shut down. And I don't like bugs, right? So, you know, that was a big one. So being up to your neck in a swamp and you don't like bugs is definitely a tester. All of that adds to what you see on camera. It's like you can feel the difficulty of the shoot in the texture of the scenes, you know. So it was grueling, but I love it. I am as proud as I have ever been of a piece of art.
And just jumping on that, one of the things that was really powerful to me was that we shot on an actual plantation.
Yes.
And there was something that changed the mood and got into everyone's spirit. And I'm sure you remember, Will, there was a background actor in one of the scenes where we're reunited who was so moved that after we called cut, she kept screaming from the pain and the trauma of it. And these guys beautifully wrapped her around in love and spirit. But there was something about being on the location where these events actually happened. And as Wiz was saying, I just have to praise everyone from the PAs to all the cast and all the crew, because everyone approached it like it was the most important thing that we're doing in their life. And I think that's just a testament to the material and everyone's commitment.
Charmaine, early on in the shoot, Antoine pulled me in to show me some footage. And I don't like to watch myself, and that was fine because he wasn't going to show me that. He showed me a scene of you. And it's a scene with you and your kids. And it's just me and Antoine watching it. And then he stops the scene, and I'm, you know, a bit of a mess. And I said, Antoine, the greatest compliment I could give you is one I'm going to give you right now. I've never given anyone before. I had to look away. I noticed, I found myself having to look away.
Yep.
And what I'd say is what's so important about this movie is that it's not homework. It's that we can't look away.
I've definitely felt the same about your guys' performances at times. I mean, wow, you guys, I mean, Will, absolute tour de force, and Ben, the way you play him with such, he could be anyone, you know?
Yes.
And it's a reminder that bad ideologies can live within anyone, and just the way he's not outwardly villainous in nature, but inwardly it's kind of chilling.
Never break me.
We've been showing it on college campuses, and I've been very surprised at the hunger that these students have for this story to be told in this way. They're literally clapping and standing up in the middle of the screenings, right? Anybody under 40, you know, and especially you get down to these kids, you know, 22, 23 years old, they grew up with a Black president, right? So their formative years, there was a Black president. So they don't have the aversion to it someone my age has to the idea of it. They actually are open and want to know the truth of the history, you know? So I think that being able to depict the harshness and the brutality, but also to depict the bravery, to depict the love and the passion and the faith, I think that it will be helpful for all of us in the cultivation of compassion and the squelching of the fear that is growing between us.
These are the times that make us, that make me certainly the most proud to be an artist, because you can try and remove the books from the classroom, but it just shows the power of cinema, you know, and the importance of storytelling, and it feels like we're making a real contribution.